Hey everybody, I'm Deplorable Bobby, and I'm here with a lot less beard. As always, I let my beard grow until it's unruly and I can't control it. And then I'll think, well, I'll trim it just a little bit to get it manageable. And as always, I cut it too short, and so then I have to take it all off. So it's a routine for me. I trim it back and then I let it grow. My beard's like wire, and once it gets a certain length, it just is uncontrollable. So anyway, I want to get started. I want to thank my subscribers and my viewers. I don't do many videos anymore. I try to do my 3 live streams on Sunday, Wednesdays, and Friday nights at 8 p.m. But tonight is Wednesday night, of course, and so I'm doing this video because I will not be available tonight for my live stream. So Nugget and I are going to go to obedience school tonight, and it'll be every Wednesday night for 6 weeks. So for the next 6 weeks, I'm going to try to do a video on Wednesdays just to keep up with my schedule. I want to thank Dangerous Freedom for his kind PayPal donation. And my PayPal information will be in the link below. If you'd like to contribute to this channel to help me grow, it's greatly appreciated. But I got a few things I want to talk about this morning. But something that's really been eating at me, and I've been debating on talking about this. I did a story on this guy several months ago, but I never did a video on it. Because there wasn't enough information that I thought was relevant. But I'm going to talk on this real quick. It's not going to take too long. R&B singer R. Kelly was locked up last month in a Chicago federal jail after he was charged in separate federal indictments in Illinois and New York. He was charged with multiple sex crimes, including child porn, sex trafficking, racketeering, and crossing state lines for sex with children. Now, R. Kelly's 52 years old. People, he's been doing this for a long, long time. A grand jury returned a 5-count indictment on Kelly. The DA for the Eastern District detailed the charges in a letter to the federal judge seeking pre-trial detention of Kelly pending his extradition to New York on the grounds he is a flight risk and a danger to the community. New York authorities alerted authorities in Chicago that R. Kelly needs to be locked up until he's taken to New York to face a new set of sex crime charges. Let's see, the charges added to the 5-count sex crime charges he is facing in state and federal courts in Chicago. New York charges against Kelly accuse him of running a racketeering enterprise with managers and bodyguards, drivers, personal assistants, and runners in his entourage who recruited girls to engage in illegal sex activities with Kelly, including transporting them throughout the U.S. for purposes of having sex with R. Kelly. Kelly's sexual encounters were most often filmed and photographed by Kelly or someone in his entourage, including sexually explicit photos of minors. And people, that's child porn. Never mind what he was doing. The charges keep adding up on this guy. The DA issued a press release on Kelly's charges of racketeering predicated on criminal conduct, including sexual exploitation of children, kidnapping, forced labor, and violations of the Mann Act, involving the coercion and transportation of girls and interstate commerce to engage in illegal sexual activity. Kelly's also charged with 4 counts of violating the Mann Act, relating to the interstate transportation of his illegal victims to New York, and his exposure to an infectious venereal disease without telling his victims that he was carrying a transmittable venereal disease. So he got these girls, I don't know what the disease was. It doesn't tell. It was probably syphilis or gonorrhea. But either way, he infected these girls. And he knew it when he was doing it. For over 20 years, R. Kelly has faced multiple allegations of sexual abuse of girls and how he trapped scores of victims in a sex cult that cut them off from their families. And he was accused by these people of degrading abuses. Of course, none of this was ever seen on the mainstream media. Like I said, R. Kelly's 52 years old. He's been around a long, long time. And people, I had to look up what kind of entertainer he was because even though I'd heard his name in passing, I had no idea what kind of music he was. I figured he was a rapper, but it doesn't matter. He's facing life in prison, and that's where he should be. It's where he should have been a long time ago. But you know, yesterday, President Trump suggested Jewish Americans who vote for demon rats either lack the requisite knowledge or show great disloyalty amid the escalation of the war on words with Representatives Rashita, Tlaib, and Ilhan Omar. And it's all over Israel. We've all heard about it. We know how they were banned from coming to Israel, and then they had second thoughts, and they says, well, okay, Rashida Tlaib can come on a humanitarian basis, and she can go visit her 90-year-old grandmother. And of course, when Omar couldn't come, Rashida had to change her mind as well. So see, her bringing Omar where they could have all this rhetoric and maybe even go to the Temple Mount and have a riot. I mean, these people are evil, and I don't blame Israel for not wanting them in their country. They denounce Israel at every turn. They deny its even existence in the world. And they're all about this boycott against Israel. So I don't blame Israel. From the Oval Office, President Trump spoke about his feud with these 2 Muslim terrorist congresswomen. And you heard what I said. I believe they're terrorist congressional women. Well, the president accused these 2 of being anti-Semitic and argued that they hate Israel and they hate all Jewish people. And I believe that. I didn't need Trump to tell me. Their actions prove it, and their words absolutely make it truth. President Trump said that Omar is a disaster for the Jewish people. What Omar has said and what Tlaib has said about Israel proves that. They prove that they're totally anti-Israel and anti-Jewish people, unless they're demon rats in Congress who happen to be Jewish who are supporting these people. Where has the demon rat party gone, people? Why are they defending these 2 who hate Israel? The Dems called out President Trump for his use of the word disloyalty. Well, people, I don't know what else you would call it unless you wanted to call it something worse. Omar said that Trump's Muslim bans what Israel is implementing, and this time it's against 2 elected members of Congress. That didn't make a whole lot of sense, what I just read, but that's what it said. So we've got Tlaib and Omar still running their mouth, still making noise. And that's all they're good for, is making noise. But you know, these 2 women have some cohorts. You got one named Presley and one named Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and between the 4 of them, they make up the 4 congresswomen of the apocalypse. So here's what we've got. We've got our Congress, which I regret to say is the demon rats have the majority in the House. And now these four far left, anti-Israel, anti-America terrorists are getting the backing of all of the demon rats in Congress, even the Jews, the people that they hate so bad because of politics are going to support these women. People that makes no sense. And something else that makes no sense is the homeless people. You know, on the West Coast, the homeless situation is a lot worse than it is on the East Coast. At least on the East Coast, people are trying to help the homeless. They've set up shelters and they've set up living quarters and all kinds of things in places for homeless veterans and homeless Americans to try to help them. And some of these cities across the East are, coming up with these work programs and stuff, to teach them a trade or to get them a job, where they can make a little money and get off of the street and start living like a normal human being in America should live. Try to live that American dream that the Dems want to tear apart so adamantly. But all across America, in cities like Seattle and San Francisco, LA, and Portland, they're all having a homeless crisis, and it's getting worse all the time. These cities and others are experiencing lack of safety, no sanitation, very little civility, and this is all among the homeless population. In LA, for instance, the smell of liquor and human waste is nearly unbearable. There's row after row of dirty tarps and tents, crammed together on the sidewalks with piles of rotting garbage and broken appliances and human waste. They're half-dressed most of the time. They're drugged out, shells of people, wandering around in the middle of the street, cursing at cars for not stopping and giving them money. This disaster is the Skid Row of LA. Failed liberal policies and decades of neglect and the city's mismanagement have turned an old problem into a nightmare. Some fear the city of LA is at the point of no return. Homeless advocates accuse those in charge of using the crisis to further their political aspirations. And people, I wouldn't doubt that, by the demon rats, they'll use anybody they can. Pardon me. Most of the homeless in LA County, in California, are many. It's not just in LA downtown. It's all over LA County. The problem exists despite claims that California is throwing hundreds of millions of dollars at the problem. There are over 60,000 homeless in LA County and 36,000 in the city limits of LA. President Trump said that California is a disgrace to our country. It's a shame. The world is looking at it. Look at LA with the tents and the horrible, horrible, disgusting conditions. And people, that's the way it is. I haven't been to downtown LA or Portland or Seattle, but I've seen the pictures. And I'm going to tell you, I don't want to go there and smell the smells. I know what's going on there. I've seen the films. I've seen the pictures. And, why anyone would want to live in filth and garbage is beyond me. But we had another problem last weekend. Last weekend, Portland once again became a battleground for the Antifa punks and thugs. Antifa has proven again just how vicious and demented they are. President Trump, I'm talking to you. It's past time for you to do something about Antifa. Like designating Antifa a domestic terrorist organization, just like they really are. You know, our First Amendment protects free speech rights to all Americans. But as a nation, we cannot condone and continue to allow the violence and intimidation by Antifa to disrupt, destroy, and tear up communities across America. In Portland, there were over 1,000 cops on hand to combat violence, but still, it wasn't enough, and it never is enough. In just a few hours, 13 were arrested, and 6 people were injured by these Antifa punks. And again, it was those people in the wrong place at the wrong time. I guarantee you, if the cops had let these two groups get within rock throwing distance of each other, it would have been much worse. I watched that thing for 6 hours in anticipation of Antifa doing something. But, as always, they cursed cops, told them they should be dead, they tore up stuff, and they injured people. That's what they always do. But yet, they're allowed to roam free in the streets of America wearing masks. The mayor, his name is Wheeler, Mayor Wheeler of Portland, said the protests were largely peaceful and he's glad no one died. Do you see there? As long as somebody didn't die, it's a success in Portland for the mayor. What would you have done if someone had been killed? Would you have then said, well, it was a success, all except for that one person getting killed? Yeah, probably so. Because you're a fool, and you're an idiot, and you're a demon rat from hell. And it's a crying shame that you have power over the city of Portland. And not just the city, but over the police department and the fire department. You're over it all. You should be ashamed of yourself for supporting Antifa. President Trump once again went to Twitter claiming he was thinking about making Antifa a terrorist organization. I've got an opinion on that, but let me finish reading what I've wrote. He said he was thinking about making Antifa a terrorist organization, a domestic terror organization. This was before the rally and before the march, and before those 13 were arrested and 6 people were injured. But he didn't do it. I want to ask you, Mr. President, again, why did you even say something like that about Antifa when obviously you had no plan to do so? Why did you go to the airwaves? And why did you go to Twitter? And why did you say that you were even considering making Antifa a domestic terror organization when you knew at the time that you had absolutely no intention of doing that? President Trump, man, I don't know what's going on with you, but I tell you what, buddy, you need to figure something out, because you're really pissing off a lot of patriots with your red flag laws and your bump stock ban, and I'm waiting on you any day to ban flash suppressors. But either way, Mr. Trump, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know if you're on a political campaign on your Twitter. And I used to think your Twitter was funny. I used to think it was a joke every time that you'd cut down a Democrat. Well, let me tell you something, Mr. President. It's not funny when you're talking to American patriots who put you in power and you say you're considering. Well, don't tell us what you're considering, Mr. President, because we don't care. Evidently, you're considering red flag laws. Well, let me tell you this with your considerations. Next time, don't come on Twitter Don't go on the airwaves spewing your lies, because you had no intention of making Antifa a terrorist organization, or you would have done so. There's no reason why you shouldn't have. Everything that they've done in the past decades proves that they're a terrorist organization by any sense of the word. So, Mr. President, yes, I support you because you're the best thing going, but you're lagging behind and you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing. Don't ever come on the airwaves and Twitter again and tell us what you're considering. Why don't you do something and then tell us what you did? You know, that's what my daddy used to say. He said, don't tell me what you're going to do, go do it. And then come back and tell me what you did. And Mr. Trump, that's what you need to do. You need to take your little butt off of Twitter and quit talking to American patriots on Twitter when all you're doing is lying. I'll tell you what, Mr. Trump, I support you. I have to, because you're the only thing that we've got that's any good at all. But you're proving all the time that your ego is more important to you than anything else. Why else would you go to Twitter and say, I'm considering? I don't care what you're considering. Make a decision. And sometimes you need to make it for the patriots, Mr. President. We're the ones that put you in that office. And you're pissing a lot of people off. I talk to a lot of people every day that are true American patriots. And they're pissed off. And so am I. Some of these people are saying they won't vote if you continue this kind of policy. But I'll tell you, I'm going to vote for you because I know enough about politics to know that a no vote is a vote for the demon rats. And that's the last thing I want my vote to do, is count for a demon rat. So yes, Mr. Trump, I'm going to support you. I'm going to watch your rallies because I want to hear what you've got to say. It's time that you either put up or shut up. You know, you signed that thing way back yonder in February, I think, right after you got elected, in February of 2017. But here's what you did. You wrote an executive order stating that anyone who was guilty of corruption or trafficking of humans of any kind or type could face the death penalty. Well, Mr. President, where are these people at that you were talking about? Why haven't they been arrested? Why haven't these investigations gone on? You know as well as I do that there's human trafficking and child trafficking all through this country, and especially in Washington, D.C. and New York. And you know the people who are involved. Why are these people not being arrested? Okay, you arrested Jeffrey Epstein, and then your federal prisons let him get killed. I don't think he committed suicide for a minute. It's very difficult to break your neck in 13 places all by yourself. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but I'm going to tell you, Mr. President, you need to do something. You need to start making heads roll. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens with the Epstein case before anything comes out. Because once again, one of Hillary and Bill's dissenters and accusers are dead. I just want to know, Mr. President, if you knew that you weren't going to make Antifa a domestic terror organization, why did you even say anything? I mean, what was the purpose? I mean, was it just to get out there on Twitter and say something? Just to be seen and heard? Like I said, Mr. President, I enjoy your Twitters sometimes. But let's be honest in your tweeting. And don't tell us what you're thinking about doing. Like I said, do it and tell me what you did. No, Mr. President, you have the power of the pen, and you refuse to use it to protect our citizens from vicious attacks carried out by domestic terrorists. Mr. President, get off your ass. Do something besides running your mouth on Twitter about what you're thinking about doing, and you have no plan to do anything at all to protect the American people from terrorism in our city streets. Think about it, Mr. President. Mr. President, labeling Antifa as a domestic terror organization would go a long way with your voters, and it would further the patriot cause across America. And I venture to say you may even get some crossover votes for doing something like that. Because I don't believe that every demon rat that votes for a demon rat is evil to the core. Some of them, my neighbors and people in your cities and towns, maybe they can be swayed. Well, I'm going to tell you, Mr. President, I'm not real happy with you making your comments and doing nothing. You know, Antifa and their demon rat supporters say Antifa is an expression of self-defense. Well, tell me, demon rats, how is hurting people and destroying property, inciting riots, and how can that be forms of self-defense? They're the aggressors. It's baffling to me, demon rats. Why don't somebody tell me? You know, today Antifa is more aggressive and more violent than they were a decade ago. The bottom line is that Antifa is stronger and they're bolder. They're more violent. Because we, all of us, have taken Antifa way too lightly. People, wait till it's a member of your family that's caught up in this. You'll be wanting something done as well. Antifa acts like a terror organization because it is one. Mr. President, again, do something for America for a change to help end the violence of Antifa. Please do something, Mr. President. You are the man with the pen. Get off your red flag laws. Get off the wagon of the demon rats and actually do something to make America safer. And one way to do that is to take this Antifa domestic terror organization off of our city streets across America. People, I've went almost 30 minutes. I didn't mean to go that long, but I'm not going to be able to make that video tonight, or that live stream rather, that I do every Wednesday night because, like I said, I'm taking Nugget to school and I'm going to be learning with her. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be a good experience for me and Nugget. I want y'all to know that I will be here Friday night at 8 p.m. And I'll be bringing you the newest news that I can possibly find. But as we leave here today, I want you to know that I appreciate each and every one of you. If you haven't hit that bell icon and that like button or left a comment, please do so on your way out. I love you. I appreciate you. But people, before I go, we have to remember our children, the exploited and the trafficked, the abused, the unborn, the aborted. People, it's all across America. We have to pray for our children, and we have to remain pro-life always. My name's Deplorable Bobby. Pray for me and pray for each other. And I'll see y'all Friday night, 8 o'clock on a live stream. Y'all have a great day.